I'm Jen Bowman. This is my 15th year at Key School. And maybe Dylan can say hello and we'll tell you a little bit about math department.
Hi there. I'm Dylan Lewis. This is my 11th year at Key, and I'll let Jen start, and then I'll follow after her.
All right, so our first slide here, thank you. I think you're going to see some or hear some really common themes that Diana and Brian just spoke about in the humanities department as we talk about math, which I think is really great. So Dylan and I wanted to start off by sharing some overarching department goals with you, which you see on this slide. And to say that, yes, math is about the mechanics of how we manipulate expressions, but also it's about the ability to take your observations about relationships between quantities, right, and write those observations using the language of mathematics, right? So using mathematical expressions. We know that there's always more than one way to solve a problem, and our students really do develop this robust toolbox of problem-solving methods, right? They think, they analyze before jumping in, and if one method doesn't work, they have another tool to employ. So they really do become perseverant in their learning, right? They're building the confidence to try, even if they don't know what the outcome will be, because the trying is the exploring, is the learning, and all the while they're becoming more fluent in the language of mathematics, right? And you'll see on our next slide here that throughout our program, we help students to become fluent in thinking about the relationship between quantities in different ways. And some ways are going to come more easily to others, right? And the conversations in the classroom will really help shed light on different ways of thinking. So students bounce ideas off of each other and explain how they are seeing something. And really by the end of those 4 years, students can readily transition between any of these main modes of function representation that you see on your screen here. Right, and how we support our students, right, to reach those goals, to meet those goals. We have a support resource called the Math Lab, and this is a space where students can come to ask questions about a lesson, about a homework assignment. They can study for a quiz or a test. They can review teacher feedback. They can ask for extra practice. They can work with peers from different courses coming together. There's a little bit of peer tutoring that goes on in Math Lab. And it's really an expansive support opportunity that students, I would say, use willingly. And it's not just for support, but also for enrichment. And I'm going to talk about Math Team just once more, which you saw on the last slide, just a photo there from, I believe that was from last year, that we participate in the Anne Arundel County High School Mathematics Competition, which is hosted at the community college. And in the last 4 years, the students have finished first in the majority of the rounds of competition. And I am just continually impressed by their skill, their effort, their enthusiasm on a Saturday morning to be doing math with hundreds of others from high schools all around the county, public and private, that show up to these competitions. The energy is just very exciting. And this year we moved online. We have a group of about 15 to 20 students, which is a pretty good chunk of the upper school if you think about that. Compete weekly against schools from across the country in a bracketed tournament called Math Madness, where those questions are geared towards the AMC, the American Mathematics Competition, which Key hosts every February. So we're looking forward to that in the coming months. All right, now I'm ready, Tom. For the next slide. So communication is key. And one mode of communication between teachers and students is self-reflection and a lot of conversation. So this, what you're seeing on your screen, is an example from a recent statistics unit where students reflect on masteries of specific skills and they support their reflection with evidence of their work. And I think that's just a valuable asset to any math class. I think Dylan's gonna tell you a little bit more.
Yeah, so as was mentioned before, we use a variety of modes of communication and content delivery. So these include the Google Suite, of course, of applications and other ed tech tools such as GeoGebra, Desmos, Khan Academy, Wolfram Alpha, Pear Deck, Flipgrid. I could go on. But on this slide is an example of using GeoGebra in our transformations unit in geometry. In that project, students use their knowledge of reflections to create complex mini golf holes like the one shown to score holes in one. So we're excited about using different types of technology in our classes. Next slide, thanks, Tom. In our program, we also emphasize how important it is for our students to communicate their ideas clearly. I think that's been mentioned also. So video explanations serve to give insight into our students' thought processes, maybe and often more effectively than we see on paper. So this is an example of Grayson explaining how he solved a problem to his teacher.
So firstly, what I did was, just define my terms. The land pipeline is meant to represent 13 minus x, which is the distance of that coastline subtracted by the rest of the coastline. So you just have that little land pipe portion. And then next I have the water pipeline, which is C, the hypotenuse of the theoretical triangle that I created with the together with part of the coastline and the 8-mile distance between the oil rig and the coastline.
So this type of communication also allows for maybe more individualized feedback to benefit each student's progress. So maybe as a teacher, I would respond to Grayson using my own video or in the chat features that they have. So increasingly, also, I've been using an app called Loom to send a video of me explaining a problem when a student sends me an email. So it has that ability to be able to reply not in written word, but as a video. So a few statistics. I know that, next slide, thanks.
So firstly, what I did.
So I know some of the statistics were shared earlier, but these may be more pertinent to our math department. But students in the past have shared that Key's given them the foundation and confidence to step into those STEM related fields. And once there, alums have often reported back that they're very much more prepared than many of their peers post-Key. So the bottom line is they've become more fluent in the language of math while at Key, I think. And when they graduate from Key, they're just more prepared. And the last slide, Tom. And this slide just quickly shows the different pathways available to our students. There are not defined tracks. We don't use the word tracks when we discuss different courses and students' futures at Key. There are different pathways, and we're able to meet students' needs where they are and focus on building the strongest foundations possible for them to move forward with. So I'd add that to this slide, there are also electives that we offer, including math models and computer science that have been popular recently. So that's it from the math department. I'm sure that our information can be shared by Tom and his staff. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact Jen and myself.